You're watching Everyday Reviews.
I have flown almost a couple of million miles on all different carriers, but one that has been on my bucket list for a long time is Singapore Airlines, which has been voted the best airline in the world many times, including this year. So come join me on this dream trip to Singapore's long-haul fine dining, business class. Our starting point is Terminal B, or the Tom Bradley International Terminal at LAX. After a quick security stop, you enter into a large modern terminal, head upstairs to the top level where Star Alliance Gold and business class travelers get to experience the LAX Star Alliance Lounge, which for 2023 has been voted the world's best Alliance lounge. Inside, there's lots of different seating options, whether you want to work or just dine in the dining area. There is a balcony overlooking the concourse, and it's got to be one of the best views in the terminal for sure, way up high. There's a bar with a very extensive menu, and their choices of draft and bottled beers are one of the most extensive that I've seen in an airport lounge for sure. Along with the standard buffet, there is a noodle bar where you can build your own bowl. Have a long stay and need to just refresh your head? Head out into the patio to enjoy some outdoor air and bring along your food and drink. Now this is a lounge that I'd have no problem connecting through LAX for. Alright, time to fly. Our winged warrior today is Singapore Air's Boeing 777-300ER. One interesting thing that I learned when booking this trip is that direct doesn't necessarily mean non-stop. It means that the plane can make stops, but when you get back on, it's the same flight number and the same plane. So in this case, we'll be flying to Singapore on SQ11, which makes a quick stop in Tokyo before the final destination. In this video, I'll be showing you some of the return footage as well, just so you can see some of the different menu items and the different view from the other side of the plane. This plane does have 4 classes of service. You get first class, business, premium economy, and we booked business for this trip. Business class configuration is 1-2-1, which is definitely preferred, especially for privacy over some carriers' 2-3-2 layouts. There's a smaller business cabin with 3 rows in front of the galley, and the remainder of the business is behind. Normally, I don't like bulkhead seats, but in this configuration, it seems like it works as there are no seats directly in front of you, so your foot position seems to be more generous. Either way, the seats are nice, big, and comfy. They have a throne-like appearance. Once settled down, you'll find lots of storage compartments for things like your phone, water bottle, headphones. Beside you, there's vertical storage, which after takeoff, you can store your laptop because the magazine storage area isn't big enough for larger computers like mine. Lift this cover and you'll find some connection points, a couple USBs, 110-volt outlet, and even an HDMI. All business class seats get 18-inch screens, which new users might need to get used to because they're not touch screens like a lot of other systems use. It's controlled by this hand controller, which also has its own screen. Now, one thing I didn't really enjoy that much is I found the selection button, it's in between the directional pad, is kind of like inset too much and too close to the directional button. So a lot of times I was pressing select, but I would end up going left or right instead. I'm sure if you flew this product enough, you'd probably get used to it, but it was a little bit annoying to start. The table is fairly large and it pulls up and out, and it actually has height adjustability, which is great for all different size passengers, but it's not perfect, but we'll get to that in a bit. Just like the cars I drive, I like buttons, and Singapore's choice to use tactile buttons instead of a menu-driven system gets a thumbs up from me. It's just so much easier to control different areas of the seat, turn on different lighting, which there is a lot of, including ambient lighting, and the buttons are well placed where you will not accidentally hit them. To the right front underneath, there's lots of ample room. I can fit my 31-liter backpack under it without compromising any foot room at all. Great storage. Once aboard, you'll be greeted with a smiling face And it was nice to see the female attendants wearing the kebaya synonymous to the Singapore Airlines Singapore Girl branding. The pre-flight beverage may or may not contain alcohol depending on departure city. Out of LAX, it was non-alcoholic, whereas out of Singapore, champagne was offered pre-flight. Regardless, quickly once in the air, bubbly was available along with anything else on the drink menu. Now here's one for the plane nerds, amenity kits. It's always exciting to get a new one from a new airline, especially if they have something cool about them. Well, don't get too excited for this one. There are good quality amenities in here, but the kit has really no wow factor, and to become more sustainable on most flights, they're only available upon request, which I understand. I'm not sure what first class passengers get though. If you know, leave a comment below. Here's some valuable advice for you. Now, I'm not sure about the other classes like Premium Economy and Economy, but if you're flying business on Singapore, bring your best appetite, because not only are you going to see and taste some amazing dishes, but the food is so plentiful, the most I've ever experienced on any airline. After the white linens are laid down, as well as some nice elegant silverware, the appetizer is served, which in this case was marinated shrimp with Meyer lemon aioli on top of a salad with fresh baby radishes and turnips. Check out the presentation. It actually looks so appetizing and it tastes even better. On some of the other legs, the appetizer is the famous chicken satay with a peanut sauce. And that comes with some onions and cucumbers. If you eat all of them, they have more too, so don't worry, but they're really good. And for a lot of people, this could qualify for a whole meal. There are different entree options for each meal service. However, what's unique to Singapore Airlines is a program they call Book the Cook, where you can go online up to 24 hours before your flight, manage your meals, and you can also choose from a much larger menu. Different cities have different menus. You'll get the most choices flying out of Singapore. Check it out. I counted 42 different menu options available from Singapore to Narita Airport. For this leg, I wanted to stay a little lighter, so there was no duck confit or braised beef. Instead, I went for some comfort, wonton noodles with barbecue pork. Oh yeah, it did not disappoint, and this would not be the last time that I would see noodles on this flight. Best thing is that the crew are always working seamlessly, providing basically one-on-one service, as they have to prep so many different meals at different times, yet when it arrives, it's piping hot and fresh. I really don't know how they actually manage it. Maybe that's for another video. On one of my return entrees, I chose the lobster thermidor. Like, who doesn't want to try lobster at 40,000 feet? Well, I didn't have big expectations because it seems like even regular restaurants at times fail to provide a non-overcooked, chewy experience. Well, this lobster with the fondant potatoes will have you both satisfied, yet wanting more. It was tender, easy to eat. It was pretty rich though. Plating on this one I thought could have been spread out a tad more for more of a organic look. After the entree, I decided to forego the apple pie and went for a plate of fresh fruits and cheese with a touch of port. For coffee or tea lovers, you're gonna love this selection. There are 13 different roast and specialty coffees and 10 different TWG teas and 3 in-house tea blends. It's like having your own Starbucks on board. Another great thing, it's the pacing, which is very, very important. You really get that fine dining experience, allowing you to enjoy and savor without rushing. Hey, you're not in a hurry anyways, right? With that being said, the service can take quite a bit of time if you're participating in every indulgence, which of course, when in Singapore business, I think it's a must. But if you want things quicker, just ask them. Everything can't be perfect, right? Which brings me to my first dislike, and that is the adjustable table. Yes, nice to adjust for height, but I wish they would swing out and push out further. It just felt too close at times, and I felt it difficult to get out with the table deployed. An example would be trying to get something out of my backpack on the floor. It'd be so nice if I could just rotate this table 90 degrees to be able to slip in and out easier. Another thing about this table and the compartment beside it is that they are spring-loaded, their latching system, and I found many times just by leaning on it, it would unlatch. Next thing would be the placement of the compartment and the table it makes for that ledge to actually be quite narrow. I wish it was deeper so I could put my computer on it and do some work at the same time as meal service, and that does exist on some other business class products I've flown. So on this one, you either eat or you work. And if you know me, given those options, I'm gonna eat. Okay, even the most hardcore foodies will need a little bit of shut-eye from a long day of travel, or just that the food coma is starting to set in. So just ask the flight attendants and they'll come and they'll fold the seat back, turning your recliner into a bed. The pillows were nice and soft with good support, and although fine for me, I think the duvet could be a little bit thicker for some people. One thing I've noticed, whether you're sitting in the recliner or in the bed position, is how wide the seat is, especially for shoulder room when you're lying down, unlike some other pods like Air Canada's, which I really frequent often, which to me are way too narrow. Lengthwise, I'm almost 5'11", and laying straight, my feet will touch the wall. However, you can gain a couple inches or so if you lie diagonally, which is how you would be lying in the non-bulkhead seats. Cabin temperature was perfect on all legs. This is a big deal. You don't want to be too hot or definitely not too cold. And the high walls provided lots of privacy. For those worried about noise sitting near the galley or the bathrooms, I had no issue with traffic for noise from the bathroom or even the gallery during food prep. There's no slamming, there's no loud chatter or anything. These are things you really do notice from a top-notch airline. Now, if you feel peckish at any time, you can choose from a long list of snacks and delectables. Remember when I said I wasn't done with the noodles? Well, here I just couldn't resist trying out these noodles with the braised pork. Look at that belly. It's so jiggly, and I'm not exaggerating. It melted in my mouth. It's just so tender. Before landing, you guessed it, another meal. We started with a smoked trout with a tahini roasted cauliflower salad, and followed up with a seafood rice soup or congee, because I figured I'd keep it lighter. All the seafood were really tender and succulent and moist. The congee was a little thick for me, but a friend told me that that's the Singapore style. Arriving at Tokyo, you take everything off with you as they will groom the plane again. Now the stop is really short, like enough time for you to go to the United or the A&A lounge and use their beer machine, which is way too cool. So 45 minutes of getting off, we were back on. Boarding is so efficient. All flights we were on, we pushed back before the scheduled departure time. Besides the cool Asahi beer machine, another reason why I chose this routing instead of a nonstop is that when flying out of Tokyo with Singapore Airlines, you get a Hanako Reki option. Sorry if I'm butchering this word, but you get no less than 11 beautifully presented Japanese courses. Can you believe this is on an airplane? After eating my way through this edible canvas, it turns out that this was just the warm-up, even though we started with the chicken satays again. My eyes almost popped out of my head when they presented another box of food. I'm kind of known to have a pretty large appetite and always willing to eat, but I may have met my match here. So much good food, good service, good wines, sakes, coffees, you name it. It's good, good, good. When you're ready to sit down and just relax, entertainment-wise, it's pretty standard in the categories of TV, movies, and games. They did have the latest releases found on other North American. However, older English movies were kind of limited, but they did offer a lot of other language option movies and TV shows as well. All right, now we're finished eating, let's talk bathroom. Whether it was hour 1 or hour 11, the bathrooms remained spotless and overly pristine. No overflowing trash. The amenities were always stocked up, floors clean. Let's face it, we've all seen some pretty ugly bathrooms, even on short flights. Singapore Airlines, the #1 airline in the world. You know what? It takes a lot more than just good food and lounges to not only capture this title, but to maintain it over the years is no easy feat in this ultra competitive industry. So why are they so good? From what I experience, it's the culmination of not just the big things, but lots of the small things all put together. You might not notice it right away, but until you fly back to back with another carrier is where you'll say, oh, they did this, or they didn't do this. The crew operated with such great professionalism. It was really like watching a choreographed sports play, seamless execution. It's like reading each other's minds. Their delivery of any message or direction to the passengers were very clear and concise, but seemed like they were on a personal level with you. And most of the time, before you could even ask for something, they were already suggesting it, almost reading your mind. Here is just one example of many. A flight attendant came by, she saw my champagne glass, which was about a quarter full, and she said, "Hey, that has been sitting for quite a while," and she didn't feel that it was at the right temperature for the proper experience for that champagne. She didn't just top it off, she brought me a new glass and replaced the entire glass for me. Now that is details. There is so much to experience that a single video just doesn't do it justice. It's so hard to describe as it's something you kind of need to experience yourself. And hopefully this at least gives you a taste of what it's like to fly business with Singapore. After close to 2 million miles of air travel, I still have many airlines to sample, but I can honestly say without a doubt, this trip has been the best business class experience that I've ever had, and their #1 standing is well deserved. Even when you arrive, the dream doesn't stop. How many countries or cities can you list and say that the airport itself is the destination? It's absolutely stunning, and for all the Singapore first-timers like myself, I will be sharing my Singapore Beginner's Survival Guide in an upcoming video to really navigate things, make it easier for you as a newbie. But for now, I'll leave you with some more images from my trip back, including the burger I ordered, as well as some sights and sounds from spectacular Singapore. You have any questions or comments? Leave them down below. Hey, how about, do you want to see what it's like in first class? Well, not this time. I wish, I hope. As they say, dreams can come true, and in this case, it did. Thanks for watching, and a super special shout out to my wife Cynthia, because without her support, this trip never would have happened. Ciao.